People who count calories are morons, is what I heard another coach say the other day. This is a coach who represents the intermittent fasting space or cult or whatever you want to call that kind of movement. It's one of the most moronic statements I've ever heard in my life, ironically. So he's trying to make the case that people who count their calories are morons because they don't live in an ancestral way. Ancestral or incestual was my response to him. But anyway, that's besides the point. My stupid little one-liners. Saying that counting calories is moronic is like saying people who budget their money is moronic. I mean, it's basically the same thing. When you think about it from the standpoint of, the whole ancestral argument, essentially what calories are, excess calories, which deposit in terms of excess energy, excess body fat, those are savings, that's wealth. It's like quantifying how much money you have. It's wealth in the ancestral sense because food was more scarce, so you needed an excess supply of energy. So that's why we layer down body fat. And that energy, is measured. The energy we consume is measured by calories. So body fat you store, excess calories. If you have less calories coming in, so less overall calories, less energy, it's going to be impossible for you to store more energy. And if anything, you're actually going to have to expend some of your savings. It's like if your salary didn't match your spending, you would have to dip into your savings in a financial sense. So the whole calories in, calories out argument, I mean, it's just been done to death at this point. And I know I keep speaking about it a lot, but that's because I'm still amazed by people who think that this is somehow still a debate. I mean, we learned about calories even as far back as 20 years ago when I was in biology class. I can remember us speaking about that. So it's no secret, though. There's always people in various diatribes trying to reinvent the wheel, rather than us all together building upon the knowledge which we already know to be true. So one of the ways that you can think about calories in, calories out, it is like having a budget from a financial standpoint. Now there may be many different vehicles of accumulating wealth, let's say, in terms of you might do something like real estate, you might do something like investing in stocks, maybe you own shares in a company, maybe you just have regular savings, right? There's no one way that is the best way of accumulating excess wealth. On the inverse of that, so to get rid of our ancestral wealth, i.e. to lose body fat, to gain body fat, there is no one diet that's going to have you losing body fat any better than any other diet. It's just about whether or not you're in a calorie deficit or not. Are you consuming less energy than you are using? Okay. The statement that people who count their calories are morons is in and of itself moronic. Now, like most statements or most arguments, there's probably a kernel of truth in what he was saying, right? And I actually do want to zone in on the counting side of things. Because spending excessive time counting your calories can be moronic. It can be neurotic. It can be obsessive. And that's something we definitely want to avoid. It's not something that I advocate my clients do, especially not as a lifestyle. But a specific period of time where you are actually running the numbers and doing it quite intimately for a few weeks or so can be quite eye-opening, because even registered dietitians on average miscalculate how many calories they're consuming. They tend to underestimate them. The general population will underestimate their caloric intake by anywhere between 20 to 50% per day. So it is an eye-opening exercise. I do think it's something that is definitely worthwhile doing at least once in your life, to go through that exercise, and then that informs your intuition. Because ultimately when people talk about intuitive eating, That's impossible to do if you don't already have the knowledge, right? I mean, ultimately what your intuition is it is a culmination of all the knowledge you don't even know you have, right? So we're constantly observing things in our environment and in our peripheral vision. We are, hearing language communicated to us. We're hearing the rules of grammar, but, as I think it was Naval Ravikant said, someone who I like to quote quite a lot, is that, you intuitively know the rules of grammar in your given language, but if someone asked you to explain them, you probably couldn't, right? So that's like intrinsic knowledge. That's intuition, right? But you need the knowledge in the first place. So in order to do intuitive eating, it's going to be much better done and more accurate if you have first cognitively worked out what a calorie deficit looks like for you. Okay, so counting calories as a lifestyle might be a little bit moronic, but in the short term, definitely not so. It's eye-opening and it's the only surefire way to actually do weight loss. The other side of and I'm going to steelman his statement as I've already been doing. The other side of this is that I think using AI products, services, whatever you want to call them, like GPTs, like ChatGPT, Grok, whatever it is that you use, those are much more effective now for keeping your calorie counting up to date on a given day. You can just simply pop voice notes. You can take pictures of foods without you can prompt these GPTs once ever. And then just in the chat, you just pop in a picture, no explanation, and it's going to give you a list of the calories, the macros, and update your daily totals once you have it set up in the right way to begin with. So yeah, I'm going to leave a link actually in the description to the AI Fat Loss Playbook, which you might be interested in purchasing, where I actually give a prompt cheat sheet where you can basically set up your GPT of choice to help you on your daily calorie and protein goals, get you into a fat loss phase, and then you can just add voice notes, add pictures, or describe it whatever way you want to do it when it comes to actually inputting the data. And then you have the AI totting up your daily totals and giving you back suggestions of what you can eat to fill your targets based on where you're located, based on your dietary preferences. The possibilities are endless, but I find that to be a much better way actually of doing the tracking, because it's also a two-way relationship. You're not just tracking. Whatever information you're putting in there is being built upon iteratively, and that model is learning a lot about you and your preferences, and then the suggestions become smarter as well. That's assuming that you're comfortable with putting that kind of information in there. I think the cat's out of the bag when it comes to our data, when it comes to AI. And I like using the tools because I'm someone who, I struggle with my short-term memory. I struggle with impulsivity, specifically around food. That's actually why calorie tracking is probably the hill that I would die on when it comes to nutrition, because I do have ADHD. Now, to a certain extent, everybody struggles with their short-term memory in some circumstances, with working memory, with gaps in attention span, and with remembering what they may or may have not eaten on a given day. It's just more extreme in the case of someone who does have a neurodevelopmental condition like ADHD. So that's where I found, tracking what I'm eating to be amazing, because even aside from the whole fat loss side of things, or trying to reach certain body composition goals, I find it almost impossible to intuitively regulate my energy. And at the end of the day, your nutrition is a form of energy. It's the energy input side of the equation. And that's where I actually find that having to externalize my energy inputs, in a sense, by tracking them, is highly effective for me in regulating my energy in versus energy out on a given day. I'm still not so good at regulating the energy outside of the equation. The other day I put in 32,000 steps because I didn't want to do sales outreach. But yeah, that's a fairly common occurrence with me. So having said that, get in the description, buy my playbook so I don't have to do sales outreach. Also, sign up to the mailing list. When you do that, you'll get a free copy of the Flexible Fat Loss Framework that will help you drop 10 kilos in 12 weeks, setting up an ecosystem of habits that seamlessly integrate with your lifestyle, assuming that you are someone who is a high performer, because those are the type of clients that I help. People who make their work their number one priority. And that may not necessarily be a career. It might be their business. It may be a creative endeavor. So yeah, download that, because the psychographic, the personality traits tend to be fairly similar across those clients that I tend to attract in. We tend to be people who are a little bit hard on ourselves. Maybe we had some adverse circumstances that propelled us to want to prove something to ourselves and to the world. And in many ways, it's a never-ending story. But I'll help you align those goals around your work, around your craft, with your fat loss habits, so that that's an area of your life that you can just confidently box off, and do away with all the overthinking in that regard. Catch you in the next video.